Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Sudiatama. My student number 1741024, and here's my video, and thank you for open my videos. And this video about the variationist of sociolinguistic. Okay, here we go. Okay, before we talk about the variationist of sociolinguistic, we have to explain about the language variations. Here, language variation are caused by social interaction activities carried out by a society or group that is very diverse and due to its speaker inhomogeneous. The point is, because of inhomogeneous in society, it's make language variations in society environment, and there are two views about the language variations. The first is variation is seen as a result of the social diversity of the speakers of that language and the diversity of function of that language. So variation in language occur as a result of social diversity. And the second is variation of that language already exists to fulfill its function as a tool interaction in diverse community. And I think it's clear that the second view is the language variation as a tool to interactions in the community's activities. And next, okay, in language variation of variations of sociolinguistics, there are four kind of language variation. The first is language variation in terms of speakers. The second is term of usage. Third of term of formality, and variation in terms of means or tools or facilities or something like that. Okay, the first we talk about the source that I got from this material. It's from the internet. In the PDF book, it's not really clearly explained about the variations of sociolinguistic. Okay, let's start it. Okay, language variation in terms of speaker have many kind. The first is idiolect. Idiolect is a variation of language that are individual and each person have their perspective idioms. Okay, this dialect deals with the color, sound, choice, word, style, sentence, structure, etc. The most dominant is the color of the sound. Color of the sounds means here that when you can recognize your friend voice, and that means that the color the sound, even you cannot see your friend face, but you know from their sound, their sound. Okay, next to the second, dialect, which the language variation of a group of speakers whose number are relative, which is in a certain place area. Field of study that studies about the variation this language is dialectology. Okay, next, third, chronolect or temporal, or usually call it temporal dialect, which is the variation of language used by groups social at certain times. And for example, variation in the Indonesian language during the 30s, 10s, 50s, or now it's local language variations. Okay, for sociolects or social dialects, namely variation in language with regard to status, class, and social class of the speakers. In sociolinguistics, this variation is what concern all the personal problem of the speaker, such as age, education, social circumstance, economy or level economic, and employment, sex means here gender, on etc. We will discuss next slide. Okay, this is more variation terms of the speakers. Okay, the first about age. Okay, age here, the language variations depend on the age. The language variation used by the level of age. The examples like child, parents, and adult have a different language variations. Okay, And next, the education here. Language variations depend on the education of the user. The example of this variation depend on the education is junior high school level, senior high school level, and college level is a different language variation. And next to the nobility, we usually call in Indonesia is kebangsawanan. Okay. In our environment, Sasak, we have different language variation. It's like when the Sasak nobility have, and it's depend on their nobility, their vocabulary will be different. And gender. Okay, next is language variations in terms of gender. Here language variation is depend on the gender of the person. The example like mother and father has a different language variation. Okay, it means that they use a different vocabulary also. And we go to the professions. Profession here means that the professions affect the usage of the language itself. The examples like teacher, of course, they have a formal language variation, and doctor, of course, focus on the doctor vocabulary, and teacher, worker, and something like that has different language variations. And last is economic level. Economic level here, there are more explanation. Okay, here the economic levels. There are acrolect, vulgar, basilex, slang, colloquial, argot, jargon, can. I will not explain about these terms, but I think we are already know two of this term, like slang, jargon, can, and it already discussed in the TEFL. And next, okay, we already discussed about term of speaker. We go to the term of usage. Your language variation in term of usage. Language variation with the respect to its user or function is called a function, and variety or register. These variations are usually discussed based on the area of use, style or level of formality, and means of use. Language variation based on this field of use are related to the language used for what purpose or field. For example, in the fields of literature, journalism, agriculture, military, shipping, education, and etc. Okay, we go to language variation in terms of formality. According to Martin Jones, there are five kind of language variation in terms of formality. The first is frozen. Next is consultative, formal, and casual, and last is intimate. First we explain about the frozen. Frozen is the most formal variation of language which used in solemn situation and official ceremony. For example, sermons, laws, notary deeds, oaths, and etc. Official variation are variation of the language used in state speeches, official meetings, lecture, and textbooks, or is ordinary book or electronic book. Okay, we go to consultative. Consultative is a variation of the language commonly used in ordinary speech at school, meetings, or result-oriented talk or production. Various form this is between formal variety and informal casual variety. Okay, we go to the formal. Formal is a variation of the language used in state speeches, business meetings, lecture, textbooks. It's almost similar. Okay, next we go to casual. Casual, antonym from the formal, is a variation of the language used in state speeches, business meetings, lecture. Is a variation of the language used in informal situation, chatting with the family or friends while resting, exercising. Um, ah, we usually use in social media, recreation, and etc. This variety use the allegro form, which is shortened from the of utterance, like a textbook and something like that. Okay, the last is intimate. Is a variation of the language commonly used by speakers who are contact with it already familiar, like between a family members or close friends. And this variety used incomplete language with unclear articulation. Okay, the last is language variation in terms of means. Language variation can also be seen in the term of the means or path used. It can be called the existence of spoken and written variation are also variations in language using certain means or tools, for example, telephone or telegraph. Language variation in terms of means affect the tools of the language. That is example, telephone and telegraph. It will be different style to show the language. I think that's clear from the my explanation about the definition of sociolinguistics. Sorry for lacks of the explanation, and thank you for open my video, and I hope you understand what I have already explained, and thank you. Jazakallahu khair. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.